What's going on, everyone? So, the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes already has teams dropping out, right? So, supposedly, the Miami Heat are not interested in Bradley Beal. If that's true, then that takes the Phoenix Suns out of the picture, right? That takes the Suns out of the equation. Now, things could obviously change because I don't know what teams are going to line up to go and get Jimmy Butler. There's only so many teams that can to begin with. I'm not going to go to a bad team, right? Like, I said this in a previous video. I wouldn't be surprised if he's still a Miami Heat come the NBA trade deadline. I don't think it's like an absolute lock that the Miami Heat are going to be able to trade him. I think that they're going to try. I think it's in their best interest to get this done sooner rather than later. The last thing you want to do is prolong this and procrastinate this and it doesn't get done because it's going to be a mess for everybody. The players are dealing with all this noise and all this mess, and they have to answer all these questions, and they're just kind of hung out to dry because Jimmy's their buddy, and like they don't want to like answer all these weird it's a mess right now that needs to be clean. They just got blown out. I mean, smacked back of the barn whooping type against the Utah Jazz, the worst team in basketball. Just like ran them off the gym like they weren't even there. It's an embarrassment. An absolute embarrassment. And it's just, you have all this noise, you have all these distractions, you have just this frustration building up in the players and the coaches and media, and it's a disaster right now. It's a mess. And if you're Miami, you need to figure something out, right? Well, the Golden State Warriors, perfect. Send them there. Well, supposedly the Warriors do not want Jimmy Butler. They're not interested in trading for Jimmy Butler anymore. Again, this is all just based on reports that have came out. Could it be a tactic? Could it be something where, all of a sudden that deal gets done? Sure. Right? Like you hear it all the time. I very well could be a leverage point. But supposedly they're interested in Nikola Vucevic, which, is cheaper, and they could still maybe go make another move, right? So maybe that's something that maybe makes more sense for the Golden State Warriors. If that's the case, then there's literally the two top teams that were linked to Jimmy Butler are off the table because Miami doesn't want one of them and the other team doesn't want Jimmy. Well, I don't know if they don't want him, but they feel like Nikola Vucevic would be a better get for them, right? Currently, based on the status of this team. But, okay, well, who's left? Well, just so happens that the Memphis Grizzlies seem and appear to be available or willing to potentially make that trade, make that deal for a Jimmy Butler trade. Also, Memphis does make a lot of sense, right? Memphis Grizzlies, that grit and grind, that toughness, right? Like, they've been needing somebody that can kind of fill in that, however you feel about Dillon Brooks, right? That kind of fill in that Dillon Brooks role. They've been kind of having to go small. They got Marcus Smart to kind of do it, but he's not really a three. Like, Jimmy just slots in beautifully. John Morant, Desmond Baines, Jimmy Butler, Triple J, and Zach Edey. Still have like Brandon Clark and some of these guys off the bench. You have to trade Marcus Smart, right? Luke Kennard's going out. Dom is probably going out, sending some picks and stuff like that, right? Like, you have a couple things that would have to get sent out, but gives you probably the best chance to win a championship. I mean, problem is, like, would Miami want any of those pieces? But again, they might not have a choice, right? Like, bakers can't be choosers, right? Like, you can't be like, oh, well, we don't want anything, and then we only want, because the reports are that they want to stay competitive, that they believe Boston and these other teams are beatable, which I agree with. Like, there's no juggernaut in the league, in my opinion, right? Like, there's not the, like, Kevin Durant Warriors in the league where it's just like, they're just going to win, right? Like, everyone knows it's this team or that team, or, it's two-man race, like, where it's like, these two teams are basically the only teams they can do. Like, no, like, you can make an argument for, like, a handful of guys, or a handful of teams both ways. So, I don't think it's as, like, straightforward as, like, Boston's just going to win it again, and, they're going to play, Denver this time or anything like that. Like, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. Obviously, that could still happen, but I wouldn't be shocked. My point is that I think that there is opportunity for some of these teams to make a move or two, be right in the thick of it. And a team like the Memphis Grizzlies are already in the thick of it. They're on a little bit of a skid, but that's because Ja's out, and that's their best player, right? Like, so him being out a little bit obviously hurts the team, but he'll be back, they'll be fine, and they'll start getting back into the swing of things. And it's just like, if they can stay healthy, Jimmy Butler slots in, like, that's tough, right? Like, that's genuinely, like, that's tough. Like, good luck beating them. Like, no one would want to see Memphis in a 7-game series anyway. Like, going up against Ja and just, like, the things that he can do and the frustrations that he can build, right? And then now you're adding in a Jimmy Butler, right? And, like, a guy that has done more with less than probably anybody. And now you're giving Jimmy Butler Triple J and Ja Morant. Sounds pretty good to me. Right? Sounds pretty good if you're the Grizzlies. And, like, you're not, like, what are you losing by taking Jimmy? Right? Like, don't get me wrong, Marcus Smart, you could probably get a pretty good return for. Luke Kennard, would a team maybe give you something? Sure, but you're not getting, like, some crazy return for it. Dom is nice, right? Like, whatever other pieces end up going out. I mean, we'll see what the end result trade will be, but essentially, you're sending out 3-4 guys to bring in Jimmy Butler, and now you're a real title contender. Like, does anyone really think Memphis is winning the championship this year? I don't. I'll be the first to say, like, no, I don't. I mean, we saw this before, right? Does Zach Edey help? Yes, because it gives them some size that they really needed at the center spot, so they can just match up better against some of these other teams. But I still don't trust them in the playoffs. Maybe it's just one of those things, like, I have to see it. I mean, I felt that way about the Celtics for years. Year after year, I was like, I have to see it. I need to see it. Every year, the Celtics are in the conference finals and the NBA finals, and every year something happens and they end up losing. Right? So I need to see them do that. I need to see them overcome that. Right? I'm not just going to assume that they're going to be able to do that and figure it out. And then now you look up and it's like, oh, okay, cool. They finally showed it. They finally proved it. And then, they take home the Larry O'Brien. Right? So I feel like Memphis, it's just like the last time they were in this position, ran into my Lakers and got ran through, and then everyone was like, oh, I can't believe it. They were the 2 seed. And it's like, well, duh. Like, cue the Billie Eilish music, right? Like, I do think Jimmy Butler, though, would change things, right? Like, because it just, again, it gives you that guy that's been there, done that. Gives you somebody that can help close and self-shot create and do all those things. Gives you somebody that just gives you that toughness and that physicality and just that ability to impact the game in a multitude of ways. He's also one of those guys that he doesn't care, right? Like, he's not somebody that's like, I need to get my 20 shots a game and I need to average 30 and all that. Like, no, he doesn't get, like, whether you want 13 or 30, like, whatever, I got you. Hey, you need guys are struggling tonight? Don't worry, give me the rock. I'll go close this out. I'll go handle business, right? And then there's the other side where he's just like, hey, Ja's killing it, Bane's killing it, like, all these guys are killing it. Cool. I'll just do the dirty work. I'll stay over here, lock down defense, get after it, hustle, die for loose ball, sacrifice my buddy, do all the things that I got to do, right? Like, and I mean, he's one of the few stars, if really any star in today's NBA, that is willing to do the dirty work, right? Him and Bam both are guys. That's why, like, every time it's like, well, what about this star? What about that star? I'm like, yeah, they all make sense because Jimmy and Bam, like, they don't care. And, like, so Jimmy going to Memphis, I think would be fantastic for both. I think for all sides, really. And I just think that Jimmy Butler slots in. He won't take away from, like, the guys, right? Like, Ja can still be the workhorse. Jimmy can kind of, coast and do his thing and just like, oh, yeah, no, hey, Ja, you do your thing, right? Handle business, right? And then playoff time comes and now you can have that better shift, that better balance. And now playoff Jimmy starts picking it up and they're just a different beast and different animal. And then when Ja is out and misses time, right, easily put in Jimmy Butler and he can kind of just step up and play that role for you, really have an impact on that basketball. I like it. I do. I like it a lot. And I can see why they'd be the favorites to land Jimmy Butler. Again, there's not many teams that can, right? Or that would want to. And Jimmy's not going to want to go to some, like, trash team. So I think he's probably going west. I just don't, like, is Miami going to really send him to an Eastern Conference team? Probably not. Probably sending him West. So what is that team? I don't know. Be interesting. Be interesting to see how it plays out. Be interesting to see how it works. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of Memphis going and trading for Jimmy Butler? Do you hate the idea? You're kind of mixed in the middle. Do you think that it would work? Think that that'd be enough to kind of put Memphis over the top? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I would love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Now subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.